Okay, so let's take a look at what happened in the South Africa versus New Zealand game for the opening match of the Rugby Championship. So the game started quite badly for South Africa and for Faf de Klerk in particular, who around the 45th second had to go off injured after a poor tackle he made on a New Zealand player where he hit his head against the player's knee. This was slightly concerning at that point because South Africa had gone with a 6-2 split, which meant they only had one back on the bench now after he was replaced by Hendricks. But shortly after this, around the 8th minute, South Africa did score through Kurtley Arendse. It was a pretty interesting try. It was a kick up and it then got patted back by I think Jordie Barrett, who put it into Lukhanyo Am's arms, who then managed to get an offload off to Arendse to go in and score the opening try of the game. Shortly after this, South Africa then did also score a penalty, making it 10-0. New Zealand didn't score until the 36th minute where they scored a penalty, which made it 10-3 at half-time. Now at the beginning of the second half, South Africa got another penalty, which made it 13-3, and then Hondrey Pollard scored a drop goal around at the 58th minute, making it 16-3. And then in the last 10 minutes of the game, when the game started opening up a bit, South Africa scored another penalty, making it 19-3. But then Kurtley Arendse got sent off after a really poor attempt to challenge for a ball in there, where he didn't really challenge for the ball. He just kind of barged into Jordie Barrett. Jordie Barrett went above the horizontal and landed on his neck, and Arendse got a red card. Arendse also looked pretty worse for wear after that. He had to get stretchered off, which was another back injury for South Africa in this game. And not long after that, New Zealand did score through Shannon Frizel, which was successfully converted by Richie Mwanga. So New Zealand were trying to build back into the game at this point. It was the 78th minute that happened, and they were trying to get another try, and they were playing out of their 22, but then a dropped ball saw Willie Leroux get on the end of it and score a late try for South Africa, meaning the game ended 26-10 to South Africa. So some interesting stats in this game was New Zealand actually made a few more meters than South Africa did, and that last try was a big break from New Zealand, so I think that added into it. New Zealand had 372 meters and South Africa had 343. Another interesting stat is New Zealand had 25 defenders beaten, whereas South Africa had 9. Now, this was probably down to South Africa's style of play and New Zealand's style of play, where South Africa prefer to run through you, whereas New Zealand prefers to try and run around you. I think this can also be seen in the tackle percentage stats, where New Zealand had a 93% tackle success rate and South Africa had an 83% tackle success rate. It's of course harder to tackle players who are moving sideways and trying to go around you than tackle players who are coming right up into you. But given that style of play difference, both teams had 3 clean breaks. You would expect the way New Zealand liked to play, they would have more clean breaks, but New Zealand really struggled with South Africa's rush defence in this game and caused a lot of errors on their part. Also, New Zealand conceded 12 penalties, and I think about half of those were probably from scrums. South Africa seemed to get a penalty every time they had a scrum and were absolutely tearing through that New Zealand scrum. New Zealand won 4 or 5 of their scrums, whereas South Africa won 10 out of 10 of all of their scrums. South Africa conceded only 7 penalties in the whole game, meaning New Zealand had 5 more penalties conceded into that double digits place where teams really want to try to avoid at this level, because those penalties being in the wrong place of the pitch could be 15 points of difference for a team. New Zealand were much, much worse than I thought they would be. They just looked completely off. They look a shadow of what we expect from a New Zealand performance. And balls weren't going to hand. They were dropping them everywhere. They weren't making meters in the gain line. They weren't getting line breaks like you expect from a New Zealand team. I was pretty confident that New Zealand would get one win in South Africa, but after watching that game, I'm not sure they will win next weekend. Tell me what you think about this game, what you think will happen next weekend. If you're interested to see my full preview of the Rugby Championship as a whole, you can check this video out right here. Thanks for watching.